I can't wait, I said. I needed my mom right then. And to tell the truth, I liked the risk. I liked the idea of using my mom in a public place for the first time, surrounded by people in their cars. I moved forward and was surprised at how I found a lot of resistance at first. I can't believe I'm actually using you, I said. Mom, she didn't say anything for a few moments. She just looked at me with an expression that was impossible to read. The noise of the movie was getting louder. I think the car chase continued. I didn't care. I couldn't get away from my mom. It feels good, she said at last. It was pure paradise. I went in and out of her, and Mom pressed her body against mine, writhing and moaning. The moans were sometimes interrupted by an exclamation. Oh, I couldn't think of anything else to say. God, it's so delicious, Mom said, breathing heavily. I looked up and noticed condensation starting to build up on the car windows. People would have suspected something was wrong if they had noticed this, and the fact that our heads weren't visible, they would have known what was going on. However, I wasn't going to stop, and I could tell Mom was pleased too. Mom liked it when her son used her. However, she didn't like it at all. More than I liked it. God, what a feeling. Tell me how much you like it, Mom. I said, I like it. Well, said more, I said, breathing heavily and pronouncing the words with effort. Tell me more about how you feel. I like the way you use me. Well, oh yeah, I said. I was too far away to think of something to say. There wasn't even enough brain power for words. I collapsed on top of her. We were both sweating. The car was as humid as a jungle. The car windows were fogged up. Mom and I lay together for a few minutes until my attention shifted to the sound of a movie we had stopped watching a long time ago. It was all over. I sat up. The credits were rolling. We better get dressed, Mom said, though she didn't move. I handed her the clothes. We both got dressed. I felt awkward getting out of the car to get back in the front seat. I wondered if people would look at my mom and suspect what I was doing with her in the back seat. I wondered if anyone in the parking lot would recognize us. There wasn't much we could do after I put my pants back on and Mom put on her cheerleader uniform. We opened the back doors and took our seats in the front seat. I didn't see anyone. I recognized the car started to drive away. And as we left the theater, we went home too. Neither of us said anything for a while. I think we were both excited to make love, but also embarrassed by it. Mom was the only one who broke the silence, and she said, "Yes, Mom?" I turned to her. She was looking at me, and I have never seen such a naughty look on her face. We don't have to wait for your next birthday to go back to the movies. I was glad to see that Mom was clearly enjoying the movie despite its silliness. The rum probably helped her enjoy it even more. We both drank from our cups until the rum was gone. Mom broke the silence. Well, I have to say it is sweet. It is a little weird, but it is nice. I am glad you like it. I am having fun here with you, and you look great as a cheerleader. She laughed. Thank you. She put her hand on my neck and ran her fingers through my hair. You are a wonderful son. I appreciate your support over the past few years. It wasn't easy for me. Happy birthday. You are welcome, Mom. I am glad I get to be with you. Her fingers running over my skull were fantastic to the touch. She jerked her hand away and shifted in her seat. She was a little closer to me than before. Not thinking about what I was doing, I put my arm around her shoulders and gently pulled her towards me. At first, Mom tensed and resisted, but then she relaxed. I leaned down and put her head on my shoulder. I leaned my head towards her and inhaled the sweet scent of her brown hair. I have been in this position with other girls before, but never with my mom. I felt a slight tension between my legs. I held my mother closer. I slowly and gently. This time Mom didn't resist. She sighed so softly. I barely heard it over the noise of the movie, but I did. I began to squeeze her right shoulder gently and rhythmically. Once again, Mom did nothing to resist. She kept pressing her head into me and looking straight ahead, pretending to be watching a movie. But I didn't think any of us were paying much attention to the movie at that point. My gaze moved from the movie screen to my mother's feet. I felt brave, Mom. I asked her, which she replied without turning her head. This may sound like a funny question, but what are you wearing under your cheerleader skirt? Upon hearing this question, Mom sat up and looked at me. Do you want to know what's under my skirt? Well, yes, I was just thinking about it and got curious. Did you play football? Would you know what cheerleaders wore under their skirts? You've seen it plenty of times. I know, I said with what I'm sure was a sheepish expression on my face. I wondered if it was the same back in your day. My day, she replied. It wasn't that long ago. I'm not trying to offend. I was just wondering if it was the same back when she started. But she looked at me, and any feeling that she felt compelled to draw a line somewhere seemed to soften and disappear under the influence of the alcohol and the special intimacy we already had. I saw her face fall. Okay, she said. Are you satisfied? What is it? She asked, "What is it?" She asked. I said in a shaky voice, "Thank you." She pulled her skirt down again, covering herself. "Let's continue watching the movie." Mom walked back to her seat. She rested her head on my shoulder and I covered her hand with mine, and we were just as comfortable with each other as before. My hand continued to caress her shoulder. This time it moved downwards. Mom responded by holding me even tighter. By that point I had a plan and I knew what I wanted to do next. I was good at recognizing a woman's willingness to take the next step, and in those cases, when I took that next step I was never denied, but it was my mom. Can I take this step? Did I want this? Yes, I wanted that. I felt like there was enough alcohol flowing in my blood, and I had no doubt that this was the case. But what would mom think? She could have reacted badly and sat down, and then our hugs would have ended and the so far heavenly date could have ended badly. I didn't want this on my birthday, but that night the devil got the better of my angel. To hell with it all. Finally, Mom, she said, "It feels good. It's nice to the touch." I whispered, "Yes, it is. I've never seen my mom like this before, so soft and obedient, especially since she and Dad broke up many years ago. Mom has become more professional and assertive, but here she lies in my arms, seemingly ready to do anything." I wanted to see what she wanted to do next. I ran my left hand over my body, gently cupped her chin and lifted it until her head was raised enough for me to see her face and her eyes looking at me. I rested her cheek in my palm and kissed her. She just gave me a soft kiss on the lips, she said, staring at me. And I couldn't understand what she meant. There were 1,000 meanings in those eyes, and I couldn't tell which one prevailed. Was she going to reproach me? Tell us that we should have stopped? Tell us that we should have left and gone home right now? She didn't do any of that. She walked away from me for a moment. "We shouldn't have done this," she said. "I like it." I said, "It makes me feel good too," she said, "but we still shouldn't do it." She replied, "But do what you want." Mom stopped, but only for a moment before she lunged at me again with more fervor than before. "Yes, she will," she said. Mom, she looked like someone I had never met before. I didn't know who this woman was, but she was beautiful and had a beautiful body, and she offered it to me, and my hands wanted to explore it. The whole time we writhed against each other. Mom kissed me fervently, passionately, and her lips attacked me. Like wild animals, I attacked back. It was like we were both hunting and devouring each other. Another, and suddenly Mom snuggled up to me again, and I moved away from her until I was sitting up straight again, looking at her in surprise. I didn't think about it for long. She said, "Don't you mind seeing your mom like this? Don't you think badly of me?" "God, no," I said. "Mom, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Mom said in a roaring voice. She pushed me in the chest, and it was my turn to lean back in the leather seat of the car. Nimble fingers slid down to the fly of my pants and against the bottom. From the loud noise of the absurd movie we were supposed to watch, I heard the sound of a zipper being unzipped. Yes, she was like that. I looked at my mother's face. I saw rage, longing, and desperation, as if she had been craving something her whole life and had never received it, and now finally in the back seat of her car, no less than with her son, she had the chance to get it. They were not going to deny her. I felt warmth and a surge of strength inside me, and I realized I was close to it. It sounded good to me, but before that, I gave my mom what she wanted. She needed something. I got up from the seat and pulled her back by the shoulders. Mom looked me in the eyes questioningly, but she didn't resist. She leaned back and watched my hands manipulate her body. I felt this initial resistance, and it was unbelievable. "How do you feel about being in a car dealership, Mom?" I asked her. I was nervous. She said, "There are worse things than being nervous." I told her there was something going on at the movie theater. I had no idea what it was. Rock was doing something heroic. Iron Diesel was a tough guy. None of them of this didn't matter. All that mattered was that my mom was laying in front of me, and I was 21. I wanted her more than I had ever wanted any woman before. She looked at me, and our eyes met. If I could hide that look, I would. I couldn't resist. I've heard girls say a guy shouldn't go down too fast or too rough, but take his time, and I tried, but it was hard. I didn't just want to eat Mom. I wanted to swallow her whole. "So good, Mom," I said, pulling away from her just enough to get the words out before sinking back on top of her. Anyone passing by could have looked into the car and seen us. Maybe that's how it was. I don't know. I was aware of the risk, but I wasn't going to stop. "I want you," I said. "I need you." "We're terribly helpless," she said. "Maybe we should go home." "Idiot," she replied. "This is exactly the kind of movie you watch at a drive-in." Actually, the few times I had taken a girl to the drive-in, we'd watch some kind of erotic thriller, but this was Mom, so that seemed inappropriate. "All right, Will," she said finally. "It's your birthday, but I'm not getting out of the car. You'll have to buy the popcorn and drinks. I don't want people seeing how ridiculous your old mom looks." "You don't look ridiculous at all, Mom. You look really pretty." I think she almost blushed. "Thanks. I can't believe I look good in this outfit. So tight. But thanks." In fact, Mom looked good because the outfit was tight. It hugged her curves incredibly well. Maybe it was a little tight, but in my opinion, not too tight. Just right. Her waist was surprisingly slim, and the fitted top emphasized the size of her bust. The skin on her legs was smooth, and I was surprised by how high the hem of the tiny pleated skirt was pushed up on her hips. "We've got to go," I said. "As I said, it's your birthday," she said, finally resigned. "Then it's a date," I said. "Thank you, Mom," I beamed. "Hey, since I just turned 21, let's take something with us." I ran to the drinks cabinet and pulled out a 2/3 full bottle of rum. "I don't think we should bring alcohol to the movies, Will," she said in her mom tone. "No one will know," I replied. I took her hand with my free one and pulled her toward the garage. We hit the road. I opened the garage door for Mom and then opened the car door for her, offering her my hand in an exaggeratedly chivalrous gesture. Mom smiled at me, apparently appreciating both the silliness and the thoughtfulness of the gesture. I closed the door behind her, got into the driver's seat of the small family sedan, and we set off. We arrived at the drive-in with only 5 minutes to spare before the movie started. Twilight had finally given way to night. The sky above was dark and clear, the stars shining brightly, but there was no moon in sight. "I'll get the drinks and popcorn," I said. I knew what Mom liked: Diet Coke and light popcorn with butter. I preferred regular Coca-Cola. I ran to the kiosk and returned to the car with food, drinks, and lots of napkins in my hands. There was only a minute left before the movie started. I opened the door, got into the car and took my seat. I immediately noticed that the seat wasn't particularly comfortable, and I had an idea. "Let's sit in the back," I said. "It'll be more spacious and comfortable back there. I'll take off the headrests and slide the front seats all the way forward to give us more room." "Whatever you say, birthday boy," she said. I liked hearing my mom in a compliant mood. It was a rarity. I adjusted the front seats, pushed the headrests forward, and we settled into the back seat. I soon realized that the only problem was the front seats. I was tall enough that it didn't matter to me, but Mom, being short and petite, would have a hard time seeing over the passenger seat. She moved to the left to sit in the middle, right next to me, so no seat would block her view. Since the back seat was a smooth leather bench, it was much more comfortable for watching a movie than the bucket seats in the front. But with Mom sitting in the middle next to me, it was tighter than I had expected. I wondered if I had made the right choice, but then the trailer started, and we sat in the back seat to watch the movie. I turned to my mom. "Thanks for saying yes to this. You're a good sport and this is going to be fun." "No problem," she said, turning to me with a charming smile. "Anything I can do for the birthday boy." Once again, strange, half-formed thoughts popped into my head before I pushed them back. When the movie started, I poured a little rum into each of our soda cups. Well, maybe more than a little. It was my birthday and I was in the mood to treat myself. Mom was right, of course, the movie was dumb. It was full of stunts that could never happen in real life, but that was part of the fun. We sat in silence for the first 15 minutes. I felt a pleasant buzz spreading through my head. "You put a lot of rum in that Coke," she said suddenly. I realized that since Mom was much smaller than me, the alcohol would probably have a greater effect on her than on me. The bowl of popcorn was at our feet between us and I bent down to grab a handful, but at the same time I slightly let go of my cup, and some Coke spilled onto my t-shirt. "Damn," I said. "Mom, could you grab me some napkins?" The pile of napkins was on the seat to her right. Mom grabbed a few and pressed them against my t-shirt to soak up the spilled drink. She crushed the napkins, running her hand over my torso. It was strange, but it felt really nice to feel my mother's hand pressed against me. The rum and something else gave me a slight headache. Some of the drink had soaked through my t-shirt and onto my skin. "Can you get it off?" God will," she said. "What?" I asked. "Your abs. They're like a rock. You don't have any fat at all." She tentatively extended a finger and pressed it against my torso, but quickly pulled it away as if it might bite her. "Thanks," I said. Something warm stirred inside me. I liked being complimented, even if those words came from my mother. "I don't understand how you can eat like a horse and stay so skinny. You're just like your father when he was young." That was one of the things that attracted me to him when we met. "I put some effort into it," I said. "You don't gain weight like you did when you were on the team, but you train and stay fit, that's for sure." Her gaze lingered on the lines of my stomach. The buzz I felt wasn't just from the alcohol, but also from her gaze and her words. I pointed at her feet. "You're in good shape too, Mom," I said suddenly, emphasizing the word Mom. "Look at your hips, they're pretty firm." Without much thought, I reached out and placed my hand on her nearest thigh, gently squeezing it. Her skin was soft and smooth, but I could feel the muscles underneath. "You're in really good shape," I repeated. Mom flinched slightly at the touch of my hand but didn't pull away. "It's from climbing stairs at the gym," she said. I took my hand away, and for a while we continued to watch the movie in silence. We finished our Coke and popcorn and I was definitely feeling buzzed. I thought Mom felt the same because when I glanced at her, her eyes seemed glazed, and her lips were slightly parted. From the side, her face looked beautiful, and in the dim light I could almost imagine that she was a girl my age and that this was a normal date. But if this had been a normal date at a drive-in, we would have already kissed by now. I turned my attention back to the movie and shook my head to clear it, but it didn't really work. I was still thirsty, but not for Coke. I picked up the bottle of rum from the floor at my feet and poured some more into my cup. I offered the bottle to my mother. "A little more?" I asked. "I shouldn't," she said. "You're not driving," I replied. She hesitated and then handed me her cup. "Just a little." I poured some into her cup, corked the bottle and put it back at my feet. We continued watching the movie in silence, sipping the pure rum from our cups. The movie really was dumb. Just a bunch of incredible but well-produced action scenes strung together by the flimsiest plot imaginable. But the stars were familiar, and sometimes the action was so over the top that it made us both laugh out loud. 21 years old, I can't believe it. Mom looked at me from across the dining table with her usual adoring gaze. It was my birthday, and I had just blown out the candles on the cake she had baked for me. It was just the two of us. Dad had disappeared from our lives several years ago, leaving Mom for his secretary, who was 15 years younger. I thought he was an idiot and our relationship suffered for a long time. Mom grieved for a while over Dad's infidelity and the collapse of their marriage, but it didn't take her long to bounce back. She had a good job and was perfectly capable of supporting herself. I studied business in college, but I lived at home to save on expenses. Mom made chicken enchiladas and chocolate cake, my favorites. She was a great cook. "That's great, Mom," I said. "Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. It makes me happy," she replied as she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I was amazed at how young she looked, with her wide eyes, flawless skin, and brown hair falling over her shoulders. I felt a strange tingling sensation. A son doesn't usually feel such unease because of his mother, but I did. Mom didn't seem to realize the impression she was making, so I shrugged it off, or at least tried to. We cleaned up the kitchen together after dinner. 21 years, Mom said as we washed the dishes together. "That was the number on your football jersey, wasn't it?" "Yes," I replied. "Both years at university. I was a strong defender on the school team. You know," Mom said, "I was a cheerleader in high school. I was the head cheerleader my senior year." "I didn't know that," I said. "I think this is the first time you've told me." "Really?" she asked. "I'm surprised you didn't know that. I think my cheerleader uniform is still somewhere in the house." "Mom, I had no idea. When was the last time you wore it?" "I haven't seen it since middle school," she said. "Why don't you try it on?" I asked her. "I'd like to see it." After I said it, I thought that maybe it was strange to want to see my 40-year-old mom in a cheerleader uniform, but I really did want to see her in it. "I don't know," she said. "Come on, Mom," I insisted. "Please. It's my birthday." "I'm not sure where it is," she said. "But since it's your birthday, I'll look for it. Even if I find it, I'm not sure it will fit." "Take your time," I said. "It's still early." It was still early in the evening. Mom had come home early from work to cook dinner for my birthday, and we had already finished. It was only 6:30 p.m. Mom looked at me, puzzled, and sighed. "There's nothing weird going on here," she said. After Mom left the dining room, I also got up from the table and went to my bedroom. I took my old football jersey out of the closet. Mom had attended the same high school as me more than 20 years ago, but I was pretty sure the colors white, green, and gold were still the same, and I thought it would be fun to see if the uniform still fit us. I took off my t-shirt and put on another one. I went back to the kitchen, sat down at the table, and waited. It seemed to me like a long time had passed, but finally, the sound of my mother's soft footsteps reached my ears. She turned the corner and voila! There was Mom standing in her old cheerleader uniform. She looked confused, standing in the doorway shifting from one foot to the other. "What do you think?" "How do I look?" she asked in a low, trembling voice. What was I thinking? I didn't know what to think. I had never seen Mom like this before. I had never seen her wear such a short skirt. It was tiny, showing off most of her legs. Her legs were slim but graceful under the small pleated hem of the skirt. Considering that the uniform had fit her in high school, it was incredible how well it fit her now. Overall, Mom looked surprisingly good. I was a little excited. First, I didn't say anything. Mom, she said. You haven't said anything. Do I look ridiculous? No, Mom. You look fantastic. I can't believe how well it fits you. Thank you, she said. She looked relieved but skeptical. We match, I said, pointing to the green and gold number on my t-shirt. Unlike Mom's uniform, my t-shirt had become looser since high school, as I had lost some of the muscles I gained back then from spending hours in the gym. You look very handsome, Mom said. Mom often said things like that to me, but this time it felt a little different. She was looking at me in my tank top, and I was looking at her in her tight skirt and cheerleader top. We just stood there for a moment, staring at each other. Maybe we both felt a little nervous, a little ridiculous, and a little something else. Mom broke the silence. Well, that was fun. It's time to stop looking silly and take this thing off. She turned to go back to her bedroom. Don't, I blurted out. Stay like that. I'll keep wearing my t-shirt. It'll be fun, like I'm the team captain and you're the head cheerleader, my teammate. I wasn't sure where that came from. I wasn't the team captain. That job had gone to the quarterback, a swaggering guy with a cleft chin. But I had been jealous of him because he was dating the head cheerleader, a red-haired girl named Allison, who I had always been in love with. I had wanted to ask her to the homecoming dance, but my hopes were crushed when I found out she was going with him. A date? Mom said, looking at me curiously. Where were you planning to take me? I had no idea. We didn't have any plans for the evening. Let's go to the drive-in, I said, and the idea came out of nowhere. I couldn't remember the last time either of us had gone to the drive-in. Why there? I don't know. It just seems to fit with what we're wearing. A football player and a cheerleader going to the movies. Ridiculous, I had to admit. Well, it's your birthday, so if you want, we can. But if I'm going to the drive-in, I need to change. I'm not going out wearing this. Come on, Mom, I said. You look great, and like you said, it's my birthday. You have to do what I want. She raised an eyebrow at my comment. She wasn't convinced. Come on, Mom. Let's do this, I said. I considered my choice of words as soon as they left my lips. The slight curve of her lips indicated that she had also caught the subtext in my words. I don't know. No one will see you except me, I insisted. It's going to get dark soon, and you can stay in the car while I get the popcorn. Mom's resolve seemed to waver. What's playing? Wait, let me check, I said, looking at my phone. In half an hour, the new Fast and Furious movie is showing. We can make it if we leave now. Those movies are stupid, Mom said. But they're fun.